Alright, so on the last video we got this buggy on the ground finally, but our shocks are junk. These shocks are F-150 shocks. We knew they weren't going to work, so we're going to order a set of custom shocks. But to do that, we have to get pretty much all the weight where we're going to have it, like the battery mounted, the steering rack, put the engine back on it, and the diff. We have to have everything the way it's going to be on the buggy so our scales can read properly, so we can get perfectly tuned shocks. We're going to bolt these rods that I've pressed flat and drilled some holes just to hold the buggy at its normal ride height so we can get it off the jack stands. Right now it's going to sag over like 70% of its travel if we set it down on its own weight. This shock actually, this lower hat popped off the little ears on the shock, so it's not even holding, oh gosh, it's not even holding nothing up. That's no big deal, we can fix that, but if it did that just under its own weight, I'm not trusting these shocks. So let's do it. Guys, we're going to take a real quick break to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is GoPowersports.com. GoPowersports has a huge selection of OEM and performance go-kart and mini bike parts, and today we're going to be showcasing their weld-on parts. They offer 1-inch live axle flanges that can be welded to any go-kart frame and be able to add a live axle kit to it. We actually most recently used these to add a live axle to a drag racing mini bike we built on the channel. They also have 3-hole and 4-hole gussets that come in handy all the time on strengthening weak points on frames, as well as mounting brake hardware. They also have their steering components, which is the puck that you would weld onto a shaft to bolt the steering wheel to, as well as the ears that would hook to the tie rods. And also they have the brake pedal and gas pedal stops. Make sure to check out the link in the video description for all these parts. Make sure to tell them that Redbeard sent you, because it does help our channel be able to continue to do these videos. Thank you guys for supporting us, and let's get back to that video. Alright, so Daniel cut those pieces of wide flat stock out, and we got a Badlands 2,500 pound winch from old Harbor Freight. We can't mount it, we got to mount it offset, of course, so this spool's in the center of the front end so we don't get any cable rubbing against this. So Daniel welded these two pieces of wide flat stock together. We're going to weld it to the buggy to give it a nice, what is that, quarter or 3/16?
It's looks like 3/16.
3/16, and we'll get that welded on. We'll bolt that winch down. Then we can start mounting the steering wheel. It's getting real. It's getting real really quick. All right, so we had this old flat stock Daniel cut up to wedge in between the tubing, and he put some tacks on it. I mean, this is really floppy. It's not going to hold. This is just to test where we wanted it. Now this is my seat slid all the way back. I can still lean it back, but this is where I'm comfortable. I would rather my arms be a little bit more buckled. I think just it feels like you have more of a grab, a grip inside the buggy. So when we notch a piece of tube to go from this back bar straight across, that'll move the steering wheel back an inch. So that'll make it where I want it. We are doing a removable steering wheel. And of course, if it's not, we haven't mounted the pedals yet. The pedals will be last. But I can slide my seat up, but I'm trying to stay more back in this cage right here because this is where the protection's at. That's why we did double hoops. A lot of people ask why we did so much tubing. 1-inch tubing, if you just did a one run all the way down, it wouldn't be strong enough in the case of a flip. One guy on the video said, it looks like you're building that thing to flip down a mountain. Yeah. You're preparing for the worst. So now we'll notch a piece of tube, weld a piece of 3/16 flat stock for this to bolt to. And we'll still have tilt wheel. That's the beauty of mounting it. It is ugly because this sticks up and there's nothing we can do about that. It's just the way a Prius steering is. But I think it looks fine. You got to think it's still within this cowl area. So if we ever did any sheet metal, I don't think we would up there, but who knows? It'll hide it anyway. So now we'll get to notching that, cutting a piece of plate, get this mounted in really sturdy. We'll brace this bar too down to that one, just because if you take an impact, you got to think your belts are holding you in, but you are gripping this for dear life. So we'll get her mounted. So I've been sitting on the side. That actually, I got out really easy. Steering wheel wouldn't be in my way whatsoever. And then the dashboard, it ain't gonna have like a big fancy dashboard. It's gonna be a more sleek dashboard. And since I can see through my steering wheel, I'm gonna mount 3 gauges here, a couple on the side, and the tack over here. I think it's gonna look awesome. We'll get to work and get this thing mounted. Alright, so on a notcher, by the way, you have a high side and a low side, of course, because an angle. You always want your notcher to start on the high side. You get what I'm saying? So we marked this wrong. So I can't put it on the high side because the high side would be down. So what I've been doing when we do something like that is I'll just lay it on a straight edge and eyeball this, you get what I'm saying? And then I go up under it. Oh my gosh.
That seems risky.
It built this buggy. Now I got a mark that's putting it where I need it. Do you get what I'm saying? Came up with that one night, patent pending, but you notice this lady had a pass through?
Oh yeah.
I made that. That's pretty good out there. I just turned it on, took a drill through, ran through. It's not much of a 10-degree Nacho Libre.
Good movie.
I love that movie. Nothing like a new post office. Alright, so we basically made this plate right here and going to weld it to the original Prius plate because it's got an indention in it. Can you sant it? You sant it. So Daniel welded some nuts on the back side of this plate so we don't have to worry about using a wrench or nothing. And this piece I'm holding in my hand will weld to this bar that we just got put in here for now. But it'll be welded like that. And you'll have 2 Allens that'll hold it. 2 socket cap, they call them, with a lock washer. Now, of course, it's not ideal just have lock washer, but you know, hopefully it'll be fine. ahead and lower the steering wheel down.
That is comfy. Oh, it was already lowered.
Yeah. Alright, so I seen that face she's making. The steering wheel's all mounted, looks fancy pants. And so Lonnie still has so loosen that adjuster, I think it's tight.
Yeah, it is.
So basically, all the way down is the most comfortable position for me.
And, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much for anybody. But to get out, you can raise it up.
Raise it up.
Like 3 inches. And then Lonnie will show you.
It's actually pretty easy to get out of.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be hard when we remember back when it was on the table. We thought it was going to be hard to get out of.
Well, it doesn't look like a very big opening, but it's big enough. You can do it.
So I don't know what we're going to do with this area, like in tubes. I know we're going to brace this down to this, but I was thinking of maybe same height as these bars, running one across to there, then to there, and then doing like some small humps or something to clear that motor. And the only reason, like, you can mount this steering wheel any way you want, but we wanted to keep that tilt feature, and to keep that tilt feature, that motor has to stick up like it did in the car. Last thing we have to do is hook up the 2 linkages, and then we'll have full steering, manual at first, and then of course when we wire everything, she'll be electric. Winch is mounted. We welded 2 3/4 inch plates together to make one big one, and then this winch came with basically 2 5/16 bolts. It's supposed to pull 2,500 pounds. There's no way that was going to hold, so I welded a piece of 3/16 plate to the bottom of the winch bracket and bolted on with 4 1/2 inch bolts. So she's good and strong, and we're going to do a front bumper on this. That'll, you can take off just to protect our A-arms. Look at those new fancy pants shocks. Fox Racing. Pretty much done with the cab. Ish.
Ish.
Good ding! But the floor pan needs trim just a hair on this side. The other side's perfect. And then we can start putting the engine back on and weigh it very soon. And find a quick release for the steering wheel. But yeah, looks freaking sweet.